Hey everybody, welcome back to Sportsnet Central Montreal. Now it's the All-Star break in the NBA, so we'll look at one of the league's most surprising first-half teams, the Toronto Raptors. That's right. And to help us, we bring in Stephen Brunt from our Sportsnet studios in Toronto. Now, Stephen, the Raptors have struggled for so long without Vince Carter or Chris Bosh. How have they now one of the best teams to beat in the East?
Well, it's been an interesting evolution, and I'm not sure. The day they traded away Rudy Gay, I don't think anybody necessarily thought this coming. Everybody thought that was a tank job last year, and instead it turned out to be a transformative moment for the team. But really, if you want to talk about the keys to why they're good this year, one is they play in an awful division, which doesn't hurt. They're essentially guaranteed a playoff spot by Christmas. But it's really a core of three players: Kyle Lowry, the point guard who came back and re-signed with them this year, who was an all-star; Jonas Valanciunas, a big man who is on the curve, getting better; and DeMar DeRozan, who has been hurt for a good chunk of this year, but a guy who was an all-star last year, and is also getting better. So three young players, but a lot of other guys as well, buying into a system, buying into team basketball. It sounds like a cliche, but really that's a big part of what's happened as well. Dwayne Casey's buying into what Dwayne Casey's been preaching.
I mean, those three young players are incredible, but they're not superstars, so to speak. The hot trend in the NBA has been to spend big in free agency and then land those three superstars to build around. Are the Raptors kind of bucking the trend here?
They are a little bit, but this may be the year of team basketball in the NBA. If you look at what the Atlanta Hawks have done, the best team in the league, and they've got some great players there. They got a bunch of guys playing in the All-Star game, but do they have a superstar? A Kobe or a Shaq or a LeBron James? No, they don't. They play unbelievable five-man team basketball. So maybe it may be the Raptors are bucking a trend, or maybe they're part of a trend. Away from especially. Some of those guys, those one-man teams, aside from LeBron, are over the hill now. A lot of those guys are on the downside, and if you attach yourself to a superstar on the downside, look at what happened to the Lakers. It's pretty tough.
Hey, listen, in Toronto, they love to jump on the bandwagon, but we've seen TV ratings for the Blue Jays jump across Canada in the last couple of years. Do you think that the North fever will spread beyond Toronto like it did for the Jays?
Yeah, if they win a round in the playoffs, which I think is kind of the minimum expectation right now, I think you're going to see it build. You saw it last spring with that very dramatic playoff series they played against Brooklyn, and they lost. But there was enormous interest within the Toronto area. But I think that was starting to creep outside of Toronto. There's a pretty healthy basketball culture in this country beyond the NBA. There are a lot of people playing the game. We're producing a lot of players right now. And I think, attaching yourself to the Raptors and that bandwagon is going to be pretty attractive for people, not just in Toronto, but across the country.
What will definitely boost interest in basketball in this country is a championship. Do you ever see that coming with the Raptors?
Well, there's some big obstacles. LeBron James, the biggest obstacle in the East. You got to get by him if you're going to represent the East in the finals. And there's obviously some great teams. Atlanta's played great. Could this group win a championship as it's configured? They're probably a couple of pieces away, and they know that. But you can't argue that they're not on the right path. They appear to be on the right path.
Stephen, thank you so much for your insight on this. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Wilder.